There's nothing quite like one of my grandma's bread rolls fresh out of the oven, or as we call them in my family, Graham's buns. They are fluffy and light, perfect for eating with dinner, and I can't even imagine how many sandwiches that I've created with the leftover buns throughout the years.
So today we're going to cover the base recipe and also go over a couple variations of how you can shape and bake these off depending on the form factor you are looking for. And this is one of the first recipes that actually got me into cooking in the first place way back in the day. Holds a very special place for me, and these are just flat out delicious. So with that being said, let's break it down.
To start, warm up 160 grams of 1% milk to around 100 degrees Fahrenheit, then add 6 grams of instant yeast before mixing that together and setting it aside. Now, set a bowl over a scale and add 300 grams of flour, 50 grams of sugar, and 6 grams of salt, giving those ingredients a rough mix before coming in with the yeast and milk mixture, and lastly, a beaten egg. Using your hands, mix that until a shaggy dough has formed and no dry flour remains, and it's going to be pretty sticky at this point. So when it has come into a shaggy dough, we're going to add a half stick or 56 grams of softened butter and work it into the dough. Now this will take a bit of time, especially if you're doing it by hand like I am. This is one of those doughs that if you have a stand mixer, I would definitely recommend it. Now, this dough is heavily enriched through the addition of milk, sugar, and butter, and on a sliding scale, I'd kind of put it in between a sandwich bread and a brioche bun. It's not quite the amount of butter as brioche, but it definitely does not skimp out. So once the butter has been fully incorporated, spread a little flour on the work surface and turn the dough out and flatten it out a bit. Then we're just going to fold it into itself and tightly shape it into a ball by pulling it against the work surface. Now, at this stage, the dough should feel nice, light, and smooth and soft. So we're going to place this back in the bowl and let it double in size about 60 to 90 minutes depending on the temperature of your kitchen. After rising, the dough should be filled with air and super light and fluffy. And now I've got 3 methods for how you can shape and bake these. First is kind of the original cut version that my Graham does. Second is a hand-rolled burger bun. And then third is a hand-rolled sheet pan dinner rolls. No matter the form factor, all 3 are delicious. For the first version, spread a little flour on the work surface and gently roll the dough out into a circle. Now, don't press this super hard because we want the dough to remain airy, and we're just going to roll that out until it's about 1 inch thick. Then using a large mouth mason jar or any kind of cup, just press out the buns and place them onto a greased baking sheet. Now for the second version, take the dough and cut them into roughly 85 gram pieces. And just using your hand, tightly form them into a ball by folding them into each other and then again pulling them tight against the work surface. And you should have this taut little dough ball on the exterior with the seam side down. Now, the only difference between 2 and 3 is how you space them. So for a standalone burger bun, just place them on a greased half-sheet baking tray, leaving plenty of space. But for a dinner roll format, I place 6 of them on a quarter-sheet pan where they're going to be much closer together, and once they rise one more time, begin to touch each other. So whichever form factor you decide to make, we're going to cover these and let these rise until they're roughly doubled in size again, probably about 60 to 90 minutes. Once the buns are risen, place them into a preheated 400 degree Fahrenheit oven and set a timer for 10 minutes. Now, during this, they're going to raise a bit more and they should be nicely browned on top and lightly browned on bottom. And again, you may need to adjust for your oven since everyone's tends to be a little bit different. Now, if you thought we were done with the butter, we are not done with the butter. In true Graham fashion, we have more butter ready to spread on top of all of these right after they come out of the oven. And for a slight wrinkle on the dinner rolls, I pulled these out after 8 minutes, then I melted some butter, added some dried rosemary and garlic powder, and lathered that over the top before baking these for another 4 minutes. Now, I will say this is the first time I've actually done this kind of dinner roll combo, and oh my lord, these are dangerous to have around. These are the lightest, fluffiest dinner rolls, perfect for your dinner, and they actually stay tender for several days after baking them. And if you're like me, you're going to make a lot of leftover sandwiches.
All right, everybody, so that is how you make my Graham's buns. And like I said, very special family recipe, and for me personally too, because this recipe really was the gateway for me to getting into cooking in the first place, and probably responsible for, you know, having this channel. I remember back when I was probably like 13 or 14 or something, I wanted to be able to recreate these buns when my gram, you know, wasn't visiting or we weren't visiting her. So that's kind of the beginning story of how I got into cooking. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. This will be the last video before Christmas, so if you guys are celebrating, have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone else. But that's gonna wrap it up for me in this one. Go make yourself some buns. I've got a lot to eat and also to give away. So catch you all in the next one. Peace, y'all.